So Philip Alderfer, KW Senior Mastery Coach with KW Maps Coaching. And I own a real estate company here in Anchorage, Alaska called Kloud Realty Group, and then a training platform called Powered by Kloud. And my family's been in Alaska since the mid 70s. I moved up permanently in 2001, started my first company in a small town called Homer, which is about 4.5 hours south of Anchorage, but one of the most spectacularly beautiful parts of the world. After having worked for the governor and done politics and done a variety of things, including graduate school in Michigan, so moved up here and started a real estate company. That was a small boutique firm. I got roped into doing a TV show on the Discovery Channel for a couple of years. The cameraman was married to a woman who was senior content creator at Keller Williams University. So the cameraman introduced me to his wife, who introduced me to some of the folks in the market center. And that turned into a team leader role and bringing my company into KW. And there we go. That's the story.
That's crazy. I think it illustrates that, again, relationships can take us places that money can't, right?
100%. Yeah.
Right. So
100%.
yeah, I'm just so glad. And I can tell you, for me, after we had texted yesterday, Philip, I feel I'm so excited because I'm hoping that what I'm going to get over about the next 25 minutes is a free coaching session.
100%. Absolutely. I can't help myself. It's what I do. Yeah.
That's what I want, because my coach, I'm not sure if you know Carlos Heron, but love me
I
some
know.
Carlos.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, you know what, today, regardless of whether the message feels redundant, I think that it's something that we need to hear and make sure we don't take our eye off the prize, right? Or
Mhm.
take our foot off the gas. So, you
Mhm.
know what? Other than the tacos, how do you
Mhm.
get good tacos in Alaska?
You make them. You make
You know,
them.
okay, all right. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do you have a large Mexican population in Alaska?
So the Anchorage School District, I'll just share this with you. I believe, and it may be apocryphal, but I think it's pretty accurate, is one of the most ethnically diverse school districts in the entire United States. We have
Okay.
a huge variety of folks who washed up on these shores, most of whom got stuck in the beach and couldn't figure out a way home, including me. So that's, yeah, we have a wildly diverse population. But halibut tacos are my jam. So
Okay.
it's fish taco all day long. So all the time, all day long.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. So you know what, coach us up. Phil, tell us what we need to do. Let's go.
So I think so. The question right now, and most of the folks that I work with are rainmakers of small to medium sized teams, anywhere between roughly speaking, 500,000 and 1.6 million GCI. So just in that size. And everything that we're doing right now is focused on 2025. Because in simple terms, 2024 is effectively over. We have the ability to influence it a little bit. We might be able to close deals by, put something under contract by Halloween that would still cause us to get paid this year. But if you want to have a successful 2025, you've got to start in October. You got to start that by October 1st. And so the first thing to think about is this idea that I think it was Jordan Freed who came up with the phrase "the disappearing fourth quarter." In other words, there is no fourth quarter.
Mhm.
By April of each year, as your business gets bigger, by April, you should have a pretty good idea of where you want your next year to be. Because the people you need, the leverage that you need in order to get there, need to be hired by July, so that by October, 3 90-day cycles, by October, you have the team and the structure that you want working at speed. So the disappearing fourth quarter is the idea that, the trap we fall into is saying, oh, well, I'll work on that in the fourth quarter. I'll think about that later. I'm going to work on it. It's too late. It's too late, because in order to get paid in the fourth quarter, you have to do right. We know that we get paid 90 days later. So it's the activities we take in October, November, December that set up our January, February, March, right? And in order to take activities in October, November, December, You have to have people in place by October 1st in order to do those activities. In order to have people in place, if you're going to follow 30, 60, 90, you have to have them hired by July. And in order to know who to hire, you have to have your business plan by April, right? So if we take that as a baseline, the disappearing fourth quarter, then the question is, what do I need to be thinking about right now? What do I need to be doing right now? What are the tactics that I should be working on? And most of the folks that I coach, we're having conversations around 3 different themes, and we can talk about any one of them or all of them. The first, number one, is doubling down on what's working. One of the big mistakes that I see a lot of folks make, especially in shifting markets, is they say, this isn't happening, therefore I need to go do something different. And to me, that's a little bit like the mistake of saying, my family is hungry, therefore I'm going to plant a tree that's going to grow apples. It will eventually, but if your family's hungry now, like, planting a tree may not be the right strategy. Page 226 in MREA, Gary says very specifically, you focus on what's working. You double down on what's working. And for me, for the folks that I coach, my approach, and one of the things we've learned very clearly in the training company is that what works is the database. We've studied top performing teams. We've had folks come through our database program for a number of years, and we know with a very high degree of certainty that 60 to 70% of every realtor's business is going to come from a pre-existing relationship. In other words, somebody they've already got in the database. And it's very few realtors who have business that walks in the front door in the form of a sign call or an internet lead or an open house that just says, hey, Ben, we've never met before, but you seem nice. Help us make this very expensive financial move, right? That's pretty rare. So what's working is the database. So let's double down on that, number one. Number two, are you crystal clear as a realtor, as a team owner, on who your avatar client is? Who do you want to work with? Who are you best positioned to serve based on your skills and experiences? Can you answer, if you were at Mega Camp, right? Can you answer the Phil Jones question? I help X achieve Y by doing blank for 3 different client avatars. And if you can't, well, let me say it this way. If you can say that, everything else falls into place. Your prospecting conversations and your marketing activities fall into place when you can say, I help X achieve Y by doing blank. Not only that, other people can be your advocates. If I don't know Ben works in Dallas and does a great job with this type of client, when I hear someone who has that need, I don't know that I should refer him. Right? So identifying your avatar is not only good for your business, but it's a way for other people to become advocates on your behalf. Then the third thing is when you are clear, when you're doubling down on the database and you're clear about who your clients are, then the third thing is, how do we, in the current environment that we're in, bulletproof and build a moat around the compensation that we want to earn while still giving the client choice? And the solution for the teams that I am working with right now is a pretty comprehensive set of compensation tiers, commission tiers on both the buy side and the sell side. And so setting up and structuring those tiers to meet the needs of your avatar client who came from your database, the relationship, where the relationship originated in the database. So those are the 3 things that we're working on and coaching around primarily, but it's all focused on 2025.
Right. Yeah, I think one, I loved Phil at Mega Camp, and it initially I think it felt so counterproductive that we had to go narrow to go big, right? Yeah. And so I feel like it's something that I'm working on even trying to figure out what does my avatar really look like, right? Who do I
Yeah,
want? And I think it's so easy for many of us to say, we want luxury clients, right? If you
sure.
feel, you've had success in that arena. But I think, we need to be developing what that looks like. And yes, I look at my business and I think roughly only about 10 to 15% is true luxury, right? Here in
Yeah.
Dallas. So anyway, I
Well, and
appreciate.
even when you say luxury, right? I would say, well, what does luxury mean? Luxury is just a price point. That's not a client avatar
Or an experience, right?
or an experience. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the client avatar is so in the coaching world, right? I can say I help rainmakers of medium-sized teams scale success by getting clear around their business goals. Avatar number one. Number two, I help rainmakers of medium-sized teams because it's the same avatar, but it's the I help X achieve Y by doing blank. What is it? What is this particular solution you bring to the table? Right. So I can help you get clear on your goals. I also help owners of medium-sized teams scale their business by becoming better leaders of people. Different, different problem, similar client avatar. My third client avatar is I help leaders of teams scale their business by building robust and redundant databases that provide a never-ending stream of leads. Different solutions, same avatar. So now I know that all of and you might have different avatars. I have three. I have one avatar, but I solve one avatar's three problems: clarity, people, and leads. So then I can communicate that message. Other people can be an advocate on my behalf. It just makes things easier. It's like the idea of digging, if you're trying to find water, you don't dig 100 1-foot wells, right? You dig one 100-foot well, and then you're not surprised when you find water, or shouldn't be surprised when you find water anyway, you know, if if you if you just focus there.
Wow. Wow. Uh, Again, clarity. And
Mm,
I hear that I think, especially where we find ourselves moving into 2025, because like you said, I think now our focus needs to be on having a great January, February, not forsaking the rest of this year, because I think we just executed one as we're talking, but um, you know, that feels like it's rare, but I want to have a strong,
mm.
October, November, and December. But I'm, like you said, I'm also focused right now on having a bang up January and February, and it started a week or two or three or four ago, right? So
Correct, correct. You
we'll get
know,
first and go, okay.
exactly. You know what your October, November, December is going to look like based on the current quality of your pipeline today, right? So if we were in a coaching relationship with anybody on this call, show me your pipeline. Like who are you? Who do you think is going to close? And if the first answer is, well, they don't really have one, well, then that's what your October, November, December is going to look like.
Right.
Like, don't be surprised. I mean, real estate is deceptively simple. It's like baking bread. Like if you want to make a loaf of bread, you need 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of water, pinch of salt, pinch of yeast, a little bit of time. If you want to make 100 loaves of bread, you need 200 cups of flour, 100 cups of water. It's just math. As in, we can predict. We learned very clearly in the MREA, even the rate at which we can predict. We can predict the amount of business that will come from the raw ingredients we put into it. And in this business, it's purely conversations, interactions, relationships. And I can tell you from the training company that it's roughly 120 to 1. It's roughly 120 conversations, communications, interactions per closing.
And
And
Philip, let me ask
we
you
get
this,
good.
without interrupting your flow there.
Yep.
Um, are those numbers like Alaska numbers, or you're finding most of your coaching clients across, the whole country, or around 120 to 1?
Yeah, that's universal. That's just a general standard from folks that have been through database boot camp, folks that I coach, and other studies that we've found. And that's a conservative number. For top producing realtors, it's going to get much lower. But if you assume that it's 120 to 1, and the math is easy, right? In order to do a close, in order to effect a closing, to get a paycheck in your hand, you probably need to have had two things under agreement, roughly. Not all your buyers buy, not all your listings sell. Even when they're under contract, you discover, whatever, bats in the belfry. So not all your deals close. So in order to have a closing, you need two agreements. In order to get someone under agreement, you probably need to be working with about 5 leads. And when I say get somebody under contract, I mean within 90 days, within a quarter. It's probably 5 leads per agreement, 2 agreements per closing, and it's probably 10 to 12 conversations to generate a lead. And when you just do the math, 12 times 5 times 2 times 1, that's 120 to 1. It's 120 conversations or interactions before you get to a closing. And when I say a lead, I mean a very specific thing. I don't want there to be any confusion for anybody that's on the call about what I mean when I say a lead. A lead is somebody for whom you have two critical things. Number one, you've got full contact information. So you've got name, address, phone number, email. Because if you don't have full contact information, you can't actually deliver, you can't affect a comprehensive touch plan. So you need name, address, phone number, email. The other thing you need are answers to the 6 connection questions from Shift, page 92. And the 6 connection questions are simply, who are they? What do they want or need to do? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how are they going to make it happen? And it's not that the answers to the questions themselves matter. It's that the answers to the questions reveal the degree to which you have a relationship with the client in your database. So when you have contact information and you understand what they want to do, you have a relationship with them. Now you've got a lead whose behavior is relatively predictable because you know, oh, when Ben's kids graduate high school, that's the first moment they would think about selling. But until their kids graduate high school, there's no reason to talk about selling because they're stuck there. Now you know how to communicate with that person systematically over time in a way that is meaningful, not disruptive to their life and their lifestyle. But in order to develop that relationship, it's probably a handful of conversations to get there, right? So that's what I mean. It's just math. So if you know you want to do 100 deals, it's probably 12,000 interactions through phone, text, email, supplemented with some sort of electronic communication. And then the only question is, why aren't you doing that?
Why? Right? That's the age-old question. And I'm sure you hit, that's something that you hit your teams with all the time. It's like, if this is the goal you set, then why aren't you, plugging in the analytics and the numbers to hit it? So
usually because you don't want to do it.
Yes, 100%.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Then don't pretend you do.
Right. Yes. We think we
That's
do,
fine.
though. We think we do.
Think you do. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not willing to put in the time and effort. And I just, sometimes it drives me crazy that why did I set this crazy goal when I wasn't really, really willing to do all the work necessary to get there?
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
well, usually, I mean, how much of then we can ask how much of that goal was aspirational versus meaningful. I aspire to that. Yeah, well, I that would be great. It would be a nice thing, but I would like to have a unicorn that farts Skittles. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean,
I,
I like I can dream all I want, but if what you're willing to do doesn't equal what you want, if then
I love that.
it just make a different set a different set a different benchmark. Because the purpose is fulfillment, right? If you're fulfilled, if you lead a rich and fulfilling life for you and the people around you at a 25 unit a year business, awesome. You're winning. That's winning life. You're living your best life. If you win at 100, great. If you win at 1,000, fantastic.
Yeah. And don't you think that we kind of fall back to the level that we deserve, right? I look at me, and I hate to speak for everybody, but I think, I've got a goal of here, and I find that about each and every year I fall somewhere between 40 and 45
Yeah.
units, right? And again, that's a very fulfilling life for me. But I'm like, can't you just add one extra each and every month? That kicks you to 60 plus.
Sure.
Yes, I'm not willing to do that one deal extra. It is what it is.
Well, and I would also say you haven't yet found it's possible that you haven't yet adjusted the things that would make it easier for you to accomplish that goal. What I mean is, like, if you say to somebody, if somebody says, I really want to lose weight, my very first question is, all right, let's go look at your cupboard. Let's look at the pantry. And all of the things that you shouldn't eat, or all of the things that might cause you to gain weight, we're going to throw those away. Because so much of what we do out of habit and routine. The way we think, the way we behave, the patterns we engage in. In order to establish a new set of habits, like not eating ice cream at midnight because that's why you're gaining weight, the easiest way to make sure you don't eat ice cream at midnight is to throw away the ice cream. Like,
Right.
don't overthink it. Just get rid of it. So if you say I'm consistently at 48, say, all right, well, what are the habits that got you to 48? That's awesome. What is the habit that if we created it would tip the balance from 48 to 60? And how do we eliminate all of the friction that would prevent you from adopting that new behavior? How do we make that as easy as possible?
There you go.
Right. And for a lot of folks, if you think about, when you first get started in this business, right, we read the MREA and we say the very first thing we need to do is we need to get some leverage. We go hire a person. And my answer is, my question is often, well, is hiring somebody in your real estate business the very first person to hire? What's the thing that's preventing you? I don't have enough time. Why don't you have enough time? Because I have to pick up my kids from school. Okay, great. So you don't need an executive assistant. You need a chauffeur for your kids. Like, maybe that's the first thing to do. And then why don't you have enough time? Well, then I have to go to the grocery store. Not anymore. You ever heard of Instacart? Right? If you just say my goal is to systematically remove the things that get in the way of preventing me from doing the things that I already know I should do, and I'm going to knock down those dominoes in order, often you can push through what feel like big barriers by making unanticipated changes, because it's about the habits that you're forming.
Habits. That's it. Discipline, structure, habits. I love all that, Phil. I appreciate you giving us a coaching lesson today that you really didn't charge
I think
us.
it was more of a sermon than a coaching conversation. It was
Oh,
not a, yeah.
And I can tell you in our church, and especially in our culture, and I see some of my peeps here, we'd say, "Go ahead, Pastor, preach it, Lord." Yes, Amen. Right? Needed to hear all of that. So as we sit here, and it's weird, I'm closer to the West Coast. I'm out in Vegas right now, and about to head home in just a little bit. I needed to hear this message today, and that's why I was so excited to have you on because, like we chatted right before, I got a brief rundown about the Arizona market, and then I got a brief rundown about Queens, right? And they're very similar. And yet, I think
Mhm.
we all know that, yeah, we've got to focus, really buckle down. Conversations, it's deceptively simple, and I got to make sure because it's crazy. You probably can't see this, but I got page full of notes, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
As we part, is there one more thing you need to let us know about? Are we good to go? And let's go attack it.
I think go get it. If you've got questions, if I can be a resource, you can find me on Instagram, powered by Kloud with a K, powered by Kloud, Kloud on Instagram, on Facebook, and just go to the website because we've got all our videos, all our interviews, all of the results of what we're talking about. All that stuff is out there.